Hey guys, sorry this is a little grainy. I didn't realize I was going to be this grainy. I'm going to do chapters 3 and 4 of Upside Down Magic today. Don't forget today we're also meeting at 3 o'clock this afternoon. But we're going to read the next two chapters. In the last chapter, we found out that Nori does not get into Sage Academy, and we had talked about what's that going to do with the relationship with her and her dad? Because remember, her dad is the headmaster and her magic went completely wonky, right? And then her brother and her sister both have gotten into Sage Academy, but Nori is not going to Sage Academy. So let's find out what happens with Nori. Chapter 5. That evening, Father and Hawthorne picked up their dinner. Dahlia ate only half a turnip. Nori couldn't even manage that. Her throat was clogged with held-back tears. No one talked about what had happened. No one spoke at all. As soon as he finished his food, Father turned invisible and went to his still invisible office. He didn't come out for the rest of the night. Hawthorne let Nori stay up late in front of the television. He made her toasted marshmallows. Dahlia coaxed a rabbit to cuddle in Nori's lap. Still, they didn't talk about what happened. Not that night, nor any of the days and nights afterward. Nori wasn't sure what happened to kids who didn't get into any schools. Nobody would tell her. The one time she asked Hawthorne, he said not to worry about it now. Lots of kids went to public schools, but Father didn't like them. He would hire a governess maybe to teach her at home. Summer stretched toward fall. Nori played with her friends from Woodydale Ordinary School. She heard them talk about the schools they'd gotten into. She admired their new talents without ever showing them hers. She read books. She watched movies. She kicked a soccer ball around the yard. She remained scared to ask Father what would happen to her when school started, so she never did. One cool August evening, Father's phone beeped during dinner. He checked it and pushed back his chair. She's on her way, he said to Hawthorne. You'll take care of everything? Hawthorne hesitated. Then he dropped his gaze. I will, he said. Father strode from the room, going invisible as he did so. Who's on her way? Nori asked. What will you take care of? Hawthorne lit his paper napkin on fire and put it out again. Dahlia offered a spoonful of jam to the ferret at her feet. What's going on? Nori persisted. I'm here, called a vibrant voice from outside. Through the open kitchen window flew a sturdy-looking white woman. She wore jeans and sneakers. Her short hair was sticking up every which way. She swerved neatly into the dining room and lowered herself gently onto the floor. Nori's mouth fell open. It was Aunt Margot. She hadn't been to visit Nori's mother since Nori's mother had died 6 years before. Margot hugged Hawthorne and Dahlia, saving Nori for last. Oh, my little Nori, you've grown so big. I have. And I hear you're quite a talent. Have you got your stuff? Huh? Aunt Margot's eyebrows shot up. Shirts, jeans, jammies, your toothbrush. I can come back for your cold weather clothes, but you'll need the basics. Nori turned to Dahlia and Hawthorne. They wouldn't meet her eyes. Oh, seriously, said Aunt Margot. Did they not tell you? Tell me what? Nori replied in a tiny voice. Jeez, why doesn't anyone in this family talk about anything? Sorry, muttered Hawthorne. I was getting around to it. Aunt Margot lifted off the floor so high she nearly touched the dining room ceiling. She banged on it with her fist. You need to talk about things, Stone, she yelled to Nori's father. It's bad not to talk about things with your own children. Nori gaped. He won't listen to me, Margot said, lowering herself back to the floor. He never did and never will, but it still feels good to speak my mind. Nori thought it would feel even better to change the subject. The father said you drive a taxi, she blurted. He says you don't get paid much. Actually, he says you're poor, which is why we haven't seen you in forever. Nori, Dahlia scolded. Meh, said Aunt Margot. I'm not poor. I'm just not rich. I don't drive a taxi. I am a taxi. She pointed to the logo on her t-shirt. Double M Flying Taxi. Despite herself, Nori was impressed. All flyers could fly, or they wouldn't be flyers. But very few could take passengers. Hawthorne went to the coat closet and pulled out a blue duffel bag. He put it on the floor. I got her packed, he said, not looking at Nori. Nori's lip trembled. Father's getting rid of me? Because I flunked the big test? It's not like that, said Dahlia. It's just for a little while, Hawthorne promised. For your education, said Dahlia. You'll come visit on holidays. It'll be fun. He's ashamed of me, said Nori. Her eyes teared up. You're all ashamed of me. Aunt Margot shook her head. Not true. They want what's best for you, and I can't wait to get to know you again. The energy drained from Nori's body. Father, Hawthorne, Dahlia, the 2 bats, the 3 toads, the ferret, the toucan, the pair of mice, and the 12 rabbits. None of them wanted her. Hawthorne handed Nori's duffel to Aunt Margot. What about a jacket? Margot said. Does she have a jacket? Hawthorne said. Get your jacket, Aunt Margot told Nori. Nori did. Button it up. Nori did. Say goodbye to Hawthorne and Dahlia. In a fog, Nori said goodbye. Hold on to my shoulder, Margot told Nori, and whatever you do, don't let go. The night air tingled on Nori's skin. The moon, just rising, glowed bright. Down below, the towers of Sage Academy disappeared then the lights of Nori's hometown were gone too. Nori and Margot flew over black blobs that looked like forests and black blobs that looked like buildings. The roads were lit up by streetlights and tiny cars. At one point, a family of crows flew alongside them. Nori reached out to touch them, but they swooped away. Aunt Margot wasn't chatty. She was concentrating. Eventually, they flew down to the lights of a small town built on a hillside. Little houses with porches were jammed up against one another, many of them brightly lit inside. Aunt Margot landed in a yard full of flowers next to a very small, very old wooden house. A battered welcome sign hung from the door. This is your new home, Aunt Margot said proudly, number 14 Clover Street in Dunwhiddle. She pointed to the right. 6 blocks that way and 4 blocks over is Dunwhiddle Magic School. What kind of school is that? Nori said. It's a school, said Aunt Margot. A public school. Nori's legs quivered. It's a nice place, Margot continued. Not fancy like Sage Academy, which I would argue is a good thing. Just a school where you'll learn lots and make friends and have fun. Oh, Nori said. But will they know what to do with she couldn't get the words out, my messed up magic? Yes, said Margot. They have a great new program geared towards students like you. Like me? Well, not exactly like you, because there's only one Nori. Aunt Margot smiled at her, as if being the only Nori wasn't a bad thing. But the school has just started a class for kids who struggle with magic. It's new this year. Isn't that exciting? Struggle with magic? Oh, no. Nori had heard rumors of programs like this. There was a few in New York City, one in Miami. She was going to be in a particular class for the worst of the wonky. What's it called? Nori asked. She had a bad feeling in her gut. Aunt Margot walked up to the door of this house and unlocked it. It's called Upside Down Magic. Chapter 6. Aunt Margot had fixed up a tiny guest bedroom for Nori. It had bright green walls and an iron bed frame. There were no toys, no art supplies, no family photographs, but there was a stack of library books by the bed and a vase of late summer roses on the desk. In the early morning, Aunt Margot showed Nori the rest of the house. She explained how to work the remote control for the television. She taped a chore schedule on the fridge. Then they went to the grocery store, where Aunt Margot asked Nori what her favorite cereal was. Nori knew she should say Fiber Flakes because that was Father's favorite. But Father wasn't here, was he? Father had sent Nori away on purpose. So in the flash of recklessness, she told her aunt the truth. Fruity Doodles. Aunt Margot didn't blink. She bought 2 boxes of Fruity Doodles, as well as a half dozen apples and a pint of chocolate ice cream. I arranged for a neighbor boy to walk you to the first day of school tomorrow. Aunt Margot said over dinner. It was takeout pizza. Who is he? His name's Elliot. I taxi his mom to work at the hospital a couple of towns over. Aunt Margot said after swallowing a bite of pizza. Her shift is early, so I'll be gone when you wake up. Can you fix yourself a bowl of Fruity Doodles? Yes. And be sure to switch off the lights when you leave. Oh, and Elliot's in the Upside Down Magic class too. That's pretty great, don't you think? No, Nori didn't think it was pretty great. There was nothing great about any part of the situation, but she knew Aunt Margot was being thoughtful. What's Elliot's magic? He's a flare, an unusual one. From what I've heard, I haven't seen him in action. You'll see when you meet him. But he's a nice boy. He'll swing by to get you at 8. The next morning, Nori woke up to an empty house. It took her a moment to remember everything. When she did, her heart felt empty too. She looked at the bright side. Hawthorne wasn't there to make her wear a dress or braid her hair. That meant she could choose her own clothes. Nori wiggled into her lucky purple pants, pulled on a hoodie, left her hair big. She was dressed for school by 7:30, which gave her plenty of time to eat breakfast, watch cartoons, and get really and totally terrified. Would everyone else know one from another ordinary school? What if no one spoke to her? What if she didn't make any friends? What if she never made friends and she spent her lunches hiding in the girls' bathroom trying not to turn into a bitten? The doorbell rang. Nori jumped, then answered the door. The boy on the steps was pale and tall, with a nice straight teeth and long legs. He had big hair too. Short, loopy curls sprang over his head, defying gravity. Hi, said the boy. I'm Elliot. Hi, Nori made herself smile. You've got a fake smile, Elliot observed, but that's okay. So do I. What? It's the first day of school, dear, and it's the first day of Upside Down Magic class. Everyone's going to be staring at us, and not in a good way. Nori blinked. We are now officially Wonkos, Elliot said. He shook his head. I know some of the Upside Down kids from before, and a few of them are scary. Others are just... Nori still couldn't feel her words. Scary and wonky? Oh, why couldn't she just be at Sage Academy? Come on, Elliot said, jumping down Margot's front steps one at a time. I've lived here all my life, so I know the quickest way to get there. Is the quickest way really the best? Nori wanted to ask, but she didn't. So Elliot peppered her with a question instead. He was a talker. What's your favorite kind of ice cream? Chocolate, Nori said. She and Dahlia liked chocolate. Hawthorne liked peach. Father didn't eat sweets. What's your favorite animal? Asked Elliot. Dragon, Nori said. She had never seen one, although for a brief time she'd almost been one, but was hoping to travel to Australia one day and see them in the wild. What's your favorite color? Purple. I heard about your mixed up animals from your aunt. Is it scary? Nori snapped to attention. He knew? Of course he knew. Father had told her aunt. Her aunt had told the school that's how she'd gotten into Upside Down Magic class. Yeah, it's scary, she told Elliot. Can you do normal ones? Sometimes. Why are you black when your aunt's white? My dad's black. My mom was white. Do you want to tell me about your mom? No thanks, she said to Elliot. Why could she tell him? What could she tell him? What did she really know? She didn't remember much. But he wouldn't stop. Is she dead? I heard she was dead. Sounds like you already know. Want to tell me about your dad? No. Want to tell me about anything? Nori was at a loss. She wasn't sure she wanted to open up yet, or ever. But she didn't want to upset Elliot either. He was the best chance she had for making a friend here. Knock, knock, she said. He smiled. Who's there? Me. Me who? Knock, knock, she repeated. Who's there? Me. Me who? Knock, knock. Who's there? Meow. Meow who? She grinned. Just meow. I got bored waiting for you to answer the door, so I turned into a cat. Elliot paused, thought, and laughed. He said he had a great laugh, big and snorty. They reached the top of the hill where there was a red brick building with kids milling around it. Elliot stopped and waved at it dramatically. Here we are, Dunwhiddle Magic School, he said. And look, there's Andres. He'll be in our class for sure. Elliot tipped his big head at a boy a few yards away, floating in the air. He was brown, probably Latino, Nori thought. He had shaggy hair and wore a stripy shirt. He was a flyer, obviously, but he was much higher up than any beginner flyer Nori had seen. Every so often, his body jerked forward. He flailed his arms. Around one ankle was a red rope. An older girl held the other end and chatted with her friends. Is he on a leash? Nori whispered. That's his sister Carmen, holding the other end, Elliot said. Want to know what happened? Nori nodded. Well, on the day before his 10th birthday, Andres flew up into the air during math. Just flew up. Not on purpose or anything. Our class had a ceiling fan. Andres went straight into it. His hair got caught. He spun around 3 times and then flew off into one corner. He hasn't been able to come down to the ground since. He has to sleep up on the ceiling, eat up there, everything. If he wasn't on a leash, he'd float away like a helium balloon. That sounded awful. Poor Andres. Yeah, no one hangs out with him anymore, said Elliot. It's awkward. So what's wrong with you? Nori asked. Elliot barked another laugh. You mean, why am I in Upside Down Magic? Uh-huh. My problem is that I'm a flare. Only, he broke off in the middle of a sentence and dragged Nori behind a bush. I don't like just people to see, he whispered, but you're gonna see it anyway in school. I might as well. Elliot picked up a twig and held it at arm's length. A zap of light set the twig on fire. Nori jumped back, not wanting to get burned. But there was no need. The twig flamed for only an instant. Then the light went out. The entire piece of wood crackled over with ice. Ice? I flare, but then it freezes, Elliot moaned. Or else it doesn't flare at all. Nori touched the ice twig and looked at Elliot in awe. She'd never known anyone who could freeze things before. She'd never even heard of people who could freeze things before. Come on, before the first bell rings, said Elliot, changing the subject. He dragged Nori out from behind the bush. I hear the cafeteria food is gross. I hear the principal is invisible. I hear we get recess every day after lunch, and you're not supposed to go in the wooded area. Still, everyone goes in there anyway. The lunch duty ladies don't pay any attention. Oh, and watch out for Pepper. Pepper will definitely be in our class, which is not good news. It's not? Nori said. Why? Pepper's an upside-down fuzzy. In other words, a fierce. There have only been 2 fierces in all of history, I think. Extremely wonky. I know because I went to ordinary school with Pepper. On the day Pepper's power came in, pow! Nori's heart thumped. What happened? Stampedes howling, peeing on the carpet. Our neighbors have goats, and Pepper made them stampede through the fence. And I know these other people who used to have a pet dog. Pepper scared it so badly it hid for 2 weeks. Then when it finally came home, it was already trying to bite people. Pepper terrified that dog into permanent meanness. The people had to give the dog away. Wow, Nori shivered. I've heard other stories too. Horses crying, cats trying to hide in mouse holes. What do fierces do to flexors? She asked. Like if a flexor is an animal form and Pepper comes along. Pepper terrifies them just like any other animal. What if we're in our human form? Don't know. It probably is still bad. I'm a human and Pepper scares me, Elliot said. Nori wasn't sure how she'd ever survive her class. They were almost to the stairs leading to the school's front door when Elliot abruptly peeled off to the left. Just saw my flare friends from ordinary school, he said, talking over his shoulder. I haven't seen them all summer, practically. They must miss me. You'll be okay, right? I'll see you in class. Nori wasn't sure she'd be okay at all, but before she could even wave, Elliot had been swallowed by the crowd. First day, so many students, just one Nori. Okay, deep breath. You can do this, Nori told herself. It won't be that bad. Maybe it will be even fun. She would look on the bright side. Starting today, she was going to learn new things and make new friends. I really, really will. She held her head high and walked inside. Until tomorrow. I think that was really brave of Nori to act so brave. I mean, her not what we would have thought. And I don't know how many of you may have predicted that Nori's father was going to send her away, but he does. And I think she's really brave in accepting the fact that her family has sent her to, in a sense, I almost think like fix her wonky magic. But what I don't understand with her is why her dad was so not talking about it. And I want to say he might have been embarrassed about it, but maybe he wasn't. We'll find out tomorrow what happens when Nori goes to her first day at Upside Down Magic School. Have a great night, guys.